let's move on to some happier thoughts, because there was a lot going well for Cocalico last year. In fact, we are just about 1 year removed from Cocalico winning the 5A District 3 championship. I mean, you guys came out at the whistle, blew the doors off of Cedar Cliff. You win convincingly 45-7. How did you pull that off? What went into that fast start?
Well, I always worry, and I guess that's what the head coach does. Like, there aren't too many times we go into a game and I'm like, well, we're going to be okay. Like, I don't care who we play. They're 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, and you never quite know what you're going to get. And going into that champion, I mean, we had beaten a good Warwick team the week before. We had beaten a good Governor Mifflin team 2 weeks before. We had beaten a very good LS team. So the last half of the season, they just kept coming game after game after game. And the kids were really good at when the game was over. They enjoyed it for 24 hours, and then they prepared. And the way that we prepared last year, each and every game, you had a good feeling that we were going to be prepared. And I think we were going to play a good game. And we were just playing our best football then. Did I expect that? Absolutely not. Because when we played them week 2, I think we beat them, and I know you're going to correct me with numbers. I think it was like 43-18 or 43-14, I think.
No, they had more than that. I think they had in the 20s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was a much closer game. Like, the score was, we won by convincing number-wise, but we had a 90-yard interception return for a touchdown, which doesn't happen very often. We had an interception at the goal line. So there were a lot of things that went our way that night. And we thought that was going to be like a 21-17 game. And, we just started really strong. And once we started really strong, kids felt it. And we just kept playing, and good things happened.
Yeah, I think, was it Stephen Flinton with the long run, and then the interception, I think it was Cody Shea. And at that point, it's 14-0 before you even blinked. What was the strategy going in? Because you stopped their running back who had rushed for like 2,000 yards, I want to say, in the season. Somehow you shut that down, and your offense was also firing too. So do you remember what the bullet points were there for, like, we got to do this on offense, this on defense?
Well, I mean, as far as defense is concerned, again, like, you had to stop Morris. Morris was really good. And Morris was the type of kid where, okay, maybe you stop him a play here, stop him a play there, stop him 3-4 plays. He always had the ability to break one. So we were very conscientious of, like, one guy's not going to bring this guy down. I mean, we had to gang tackle. And I think in that game, if I remember correctly, like, we scored. Stephen had a great run, and we caught him off. I think we caught him in a quick count or something like that. Stephen scores. The first play they ran off tackle, and we had moved Brock out the defensive end, and he made a great play of stopping Morris in the backfield. And I think that kind of set the tone defensively. Like, look, you're going to have to do more than this if you're going to run on us. Our defensive line played great. Our linebackers played great. And then in the secondary, we also did good things. And we didn't think they could beat us through the air. They had a couple skilled kids, but we thought the way that if they were going to beat us, they were going to beat us on the ground. So we just really wanted to stop the run, and we did that night really, really well. And then offensively, just control the ball and do what we do. And, when you have a quarterback like Noah making good decisions, we had other skilled kids doing a great job, and our line played really well. It just came together.
All right, so Cocalico wins their first District 3 championship in 25 years. It was amazing how that worked out. It was your first and only one as the head coach. So how rewarding was it after the game? I remember seeing you were so excited, but for you personally, now that you can look back on it, how rewarding was it for you? And did it take a weight off your shoulders of finally pushing over the hill there in that district championship scenario?
When you say, did it take a weight off? I think during my time here, either as an assistant or as a head coach, I think we've had a lot of great coaches, assistant coaches. Coach Kaufman, our former head coach, I think the coaching has been pretty good. I think our kids are hard-nosed, blue-collar kids. And we've had some pretty good athletes, but more times than not, we've gotten away with just being tough, hard-nosed, disciplined kids. And, we came up short, and in 92 was my first, 91 was my first year. We lost in the district championship 92. We won in 94. We lost in 95. We lost in 97. You go through some of these and you're like, well, you're happy to be there. It's almost like the Buffalo Bills, and then when I became a head coach, we didn't get there for the longest time until we got there in 10, lost to McDevitt. We got there in 14, lost to McDevitt. We got there in 18 and we got beat up by Manheim Central. It does weigh on you. I mean, you're proud of the fact that you get there, but not be able to close the deal for all those times. It was really, really rewarding last year when it actually happened. And on top of that, to happen in your home stadium, right. I mean, we had fire trucks and just that night, I'll remember that night for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, some great memories.
Were you there for the fire trucks? Did you see it was just electric through the community. And and you say, do you feel the pressure? Like, I've always felt, it's important to the community. So, when the community has some pride in what you're doing, I think that's, the school and the community, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and some of the 94 team was actually there, so that must have been cool, kind of full circle, the 25 years. Here's a question that I've been wanting to ask you for a whole year now. Last season, you guys are the number one team in 5A, so you get to host all the playoff games. It was the home field advantage. You guys loved it. After you dismantled Governor Mifflin in the quarters, there was a chance that you could have matched up with Manheim Central for the right to go on to the District 3 championship game. It never happened. Warwick wins. You play them. You beat them. You go to the finals. But deep down in your soul, did you and your guys want to actually play Manheim Central that one last time and maybe end that playoff losing streak that you guys have to them?
Well, would you always want to? I mean, anytime you get to play Manheim Central, that's a good day. I mean, it's a good. The week is a great week of preparation. The day itself is good. More times than not, it hasn't been good. But I've always felt that our rivalry with Manheim, they bring out the best in us, and hopefully we bring out the best in them. And deep down inside, did we want to play them? Absolutely. It would have been nice to try to get over the. I don't want your numbers on how many games we lost to them in the playoffs. They've ended our season quite a bit. I can go back through in 97 or 96, 97. I can go back through it. No, I don't want to know it. I know. I mean, it's a long number. And would have that been nice? It would have been, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I do remember the scenario. You guys beat Governor Mifflin. You're checking Twitter. The Warwick-Manheim game is just close, goes down to the final play when Warwick kicks the field goal.
So coaches, we were in the because our game got over fairly early.
It was fast.
Mercy rule game, and we were in the cardio room watching the last couple, sequence, and they had the block field goal. Listen to Chad Landers talk, and
it was on Blue Ridge, so yeah, I mean we had the coverage of it, and it was a great game. So I want to kind of switch to some of your players, and you get to coach one of the greatest quarterbacks and one of the greatest overall competitors in Cocalico football history, Noah Palm. And you've gotten to see, you've said, a lot of football at Cocalico over the years. What did Noah Palm mean to you and, to that program in those 4 years you got to have him?
Well, I mean, when the kid, Noah, I had known Noah for a long time because my son and he played midgets together. They played junior high together. So I had seen Noah growing up, and I thought Noah was going to be a good player. But I never did I think Noah would be the player that Noah ended up being. And, a lot of, kudos to Noah in that he worked really, really, really hard at his craft. Yes, was he a natural athlete? Absolutely. But he was a 140-pound kid when we brought him up as a freshman. And by the time he graduated, he was, almost 200 pounds. And he really worked hard in the weight room. But, the thing that you can always say about Noah, when your best player is your hardest worker, that's leadership. And what he brought each and every day to the practice field was a level of competition that made us better. From the time he was in ninth grade to his last practice, he practiced hard every day. He was a great teammate. He didn't like accolades. He'll be very upset that we're talking about him. Never, he didn't want to do the interviews. But no, he just a competitor, and just he didn't like to lose. And it didn't matter what you were doing. He was just a competitive kid, and we were all benefactors in being able to coach him and watch him play for 4 years.
I mean, the kid's a 2-time LL Player of the Year, so it's kind of hard, not to talk about him and kind of recount the things that he did and all the accomplishments and why he deserved that. I mean, I know he's a shy guy, but it has been, our job to kind of discuss his legacy that he left behind there. Is there a favorite, Noah Paul moment or game where, it really sticks out in your head that you're like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life?
There's a lot of moments of like things that Noah did that you're like, he didn't just do that, did he? And then, but he just had a lot of wow moments. The one this year in the semifinal, the state semifinal, where I think it gave us our first lead, actually, where he ran a midline, got his shoe taken off, and ran 60, 70 yards with one shoe on. I thought that was pretty impressive that, he did that. The Manheim Central game when he was a freshman and came in on a 3rd and 9 situation. Brady Sawyer got his helmet taken off, and Noah came in and threw a 20-yard pass, and we ended up scoring off of that drive and winning that game. That was the last time we had beaten Manheim Central in his freshman year. And there were several other. I mean, he just would wow you each and every day.
Yeah, all of us on the media side too, as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about getting to coach your son. Had it been a really cool moment for you? He came up kind of watching the program. I've heard stories of him being a ball boy on the sideline. Of course, he was, a tiny little guy. Then all of a sudden sprouts into this mammoth of a man. And, obviously going this senior year, getting to watch him play and have all the success, you two kind of linked together there. How was that for you?
Well, all of our kids grew up I coached 2 and 3 sports all throughout the kids growing up. My wife was a basketball coach. She was an athlete as well. So our kids grew up in an athletic family. It was neat for Brock because I can still remember we always would do a team coach's meal on Fridays before the game. And I would go to Denver Elementary and pick him up early to take him for our team meal. And I don't know if he was probably in 1st grade or whatever. So, I mean, it was a long time. It was a long time. He was always there. He was always around the team, always around the kids growing up. Casey Kirshner, Mitch Schober, 2 kids that ended up coaching for us. He was their ball boy, their water boy. And it was just neat to see him grow up. And I never really thought, what was he going to amount to? Like, he's a good kid, and that's the most important part. He enjoyed he played soccer as a youngster until he got a couple yellow cards, and I think because he would just run people over, and he was a little bit bigger, and then we said, maybe we had to try something else. But he worked really hard at it as well. We didn't bring him up as a freshman. He played junior high, and he just got better in each and every year, and it was really neat. That coaching him was a lot easier than teaching him. I had him in pre-calc, and my wife would say that's probably one of the worst father-son moments was having him in pre-calc. There were several times I was ready to choke him just because of some of the dumb things that he would do in a test or whatever, and she would try to separate. But football was always it was pretty good. And I didn't coach him. I mean, I didn't coach his position, right. So I could yell at him.
Yeah. My mom was a math teacher, so she always would get on me if she would say, you should never do poor in math class because you have your own math tutor right at home. But, trust me, we could get into it about all of that for sure. I have to ask you, though, if I remember the video correctly, the district championship game, he was one of the players that dumped water on you. Did you ever, get him back for that, or were you just so happy that you didn't care at that moment?
He's like 300 pounds. It's hard to get back at him at a lot of, unless I take a baseball bat to him really not I can't really get back at him. And it wasn't water. Water would have been refreshing. That was Gatorade.
Oh.
So it was a little Gatorade, a little sticky. But him and Ronald, they thought that would be funny, and
it was great. We loved it.
It was great, yes.
I mean, in the moment, it was just so fitting. So, I mean, you've got all this time on your hands now. I'm assuming you're going to go watch Brock play football at some point. But until that happens, what do you do with yourself? And at some point, do you ever get back into coaching football? It doesn't have to be head coach, but do you ever get back into coaching football?
Well, I won't say no that if I ever get back, I'd like to think that, I would take a back seat and maybe go down and help out with the junior high. I think I could help out the junior high, still help our program. But Coach Stroll is more than capable. He's done a great job. He's got great assistants. I could, maybe help at a lower level and do that somewhere down the lines. I don't know. I really thought that this would be a year to figure out. If I really miss it, I'll go back and coach junior high. But this is not a normal year. We're in COVID and things just aren't the same. So we'll see if the opportunity comes up, maybe. But I really do want to have a fall of going to watch him play and not having to worry about coming back and preparing and watching film and doing all that stuff.
We've gone way over time that I told you we had budgeted for, but I have to get another one in here. This year, 2020, Cocalico actually knocked off Manheim Central in the regular season, first time since like 2016 or something like that. I think there was that game you're talking about, Noah's freshman year.
2016.
I mean, you were there. I saw you there. How did that feel to finally, get over one of those hurdles as well?
Well, I was so happy for Coach Stroll and the kids. And, I said to Coach Stroll after the game, hey, look, we could have beat Central a long time ago if you guys would have just gotten rid of me and you could have been the head coach. So, I mean, maybe that was the common that's what we needed. We needed to get me out, you in. But no, my wife and I, that was the first game we had gone to together in 30 years. Wow. So parking for a game and walking up into the stadium was weird. It was just different. And seeing the kids, seeing the coaches and not being there, it was just different. And when I saw you, I was up above the press box, and I just wanted to be out of the way and enjoy it. And I did really enjoy that game. It was good to see the kids come out with a good win. Yeah, it was nice seeing you. I figured you'd just be off, enjoying the warmth somewhere, but it was nice to talk to you. And obviously the result worked out for Cocalico's favor. Coach G, thank you so much for coming on Let's Talk. I said it at the beginning, we could sit here all day. We could talk football. We could probably talk other stuff too. But we literally only got through about 1 year of your career. So we're probably going to have you come on another time and share some more stories from previous years. Thanks so much for coming on. You're welcome. Anytime, Chad. There you go, an absolute legend of a coach at Cocalico. One of my all-time faves, which, by the way, didn't start out like that in my career. I was actually really intimidated by Coach G, but once you get to know him and you earn his respect, he's a great guy. Can't thank him enough for coming on the program. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. That'll do it for Let's Talk. I'm Chad Landers. Come on back next time for more conversation on a brand new episode of Let's Talk.